So, if you're ready for me, I'm ready for you. Are you ready for me?
I'm ready for you.
Perfect. Okay. So it is Gno Me, a.k.a. Dan Kemmis, the Seattle Garden Gnome, and it's my little show, Getting To Know Me, where we get a chance to interview and talk to some very special people about some very special things. So your name for the record, darling?
Heather Stoneburner.
Wait a minute, Heather Stoneburner. Now, I know you for doing a lot of different things. I know that you're involved in the fairy community. I know that you do photography. I know that you're, how shall we say, a wizened old soul, or I believe the term is wizened. But in this case, I want to talk to you about you seeing fairies. Is that okay? Can we expose that a little bit?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So now, Heather Stoneburner. So let's start with this. So how would you describe yourself? What is it you do, and how would you describe you?
Well, it actually started long ago, where I used to see angels when I was a child, and used to play in that realm quite a bit. And actually, the photography started just a couple of years ago when I started walking. I walked in the forest quite often, and I felt that there were fairies in this little area. And so I started taking pictures, and the fairies started showing themselves in the pictures for me.
Okay.
And so it was quite unexpected and very wonderful, and have been photographing them now for about 3 years. And they show themselves more to me than ever before, and sometimes they talk to me telepathically. So
okay. So Heather, I think it's fair to say now, when I first heard this, when you and I were first talking, and I first heard this, of course, yeah, I'm a gnome. I'm a jaded skeptic, right? And it was one of those things where I found myself in that place of being like, okay, sees fairies, yeah, right. But now you have photographic evidence, don't you?
yes.
See, that's what blew me away, and that's what I found so darn amazing, is that I guess the way I'd put it is, you walk the walk, darling, not just talk the talk. So now for the last few years, you've been seeing or noticing these entities, these fairies. Tell me what that's like for you. So you're out in nature, you're looking around. What happens?
Well, I typically am just drawn to certain areas, usually in flowers and trees, and they just kind of bring me in and kind of show themselves to me. They haven't quite flown off or anything for me yet. Usually they're hiding in the flowers and the plants. Okay. And they do communicate with me. They do want to be seen. They enjoy me taking their pictures. And in the beginning, I asked permission. And they want people to remember and to believe again.
Okay. So now, I want to try and go inside what this is like. So I guess I'll put it this way. Go with me for a moment. So we're in the forest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, is it an emotive feeling? Geez, I should go over here. Is it a communication? Hey, Heather, we're here. What's the spur point?
Yeah, I guess I feel them. I feel them through my heart chakra. I guess I feel like a pulling feeling. Okay. And I usually will go to where they are, and then they will show themselves, and I start taking pictures, and I'm of course excited.
Sure.
And sometimes I will just be walking through, and a whole tree will turn into a gnome, or to a troll, or to all kinds of different creatures. I see lots of dragons. Uh-huh. And so, yeah, they sometimes come unexpected when I'll be just driving down the road, actually.
Oh, my gosh.
But mostly it happens in nature, a lot in my yard.
Okay.
but yeah, they're a little bit of everywhere. They're all around. I have had some flying in my room at nighttime, making noises, chirping noises. And I've seen them sometimes riding on the back of a hummingbird or a dragonfly.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so now, okay, so now just for a second, let's take what I'll use the so-called term the real world. Okay. So
Right.
now, okay, so how does your real world relationships, friends, etc. How do they take your gift?
Well, it's different with this particular things that I see because I wasn't sure what to do with it, and I sat with the fairies, communicating with them. Well, how do I bring this to the public? And I think so many people are skeptics and don't really believe, or they believed when they were kids, but they think it's just make believe. Tinkerbell and all of these news, these stories out there. But they felt like they told me that I needed to take pictures of children in costumes, and that would bring the joy and the belief back into their heart, and to teach them how to find them. And so I started making these fairy books to educate people and to show them that they are indeed real, and that you need, and how you can look for them. The fairies told me that people don't see with their eyes. They only show themselves to people with their heart open. So that's why not everyone can see this realm. So I thought that was pretty interesting, that it's, it's not for everybody, and you have to be open to receive those visions of them. So. Okay.
So now let me come at this from a different angle. So now, okay, are you skeptical? Do you know you see fairies, or do you think you see fairies?
Oh, I know.
Okay, so you have no skepticism.
No, not anymore. I used to in the beginning.
Okay, but basically you have, we'll say methodically, worked your way through that. I'm sure there were a lot of internal conversations, right? What does that sound like? Geez, Heather, I think I'm crazy? Did you go through any of that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My family still thinks I'm just maybe a little out there.
But now these days, you've got pictures to prove it, right? I mean, this is the thing that I have to say. Again, I like to refer to my position as the optimistic skeptic. I like to believe, right? But I also like to be in a place where I have something to hang my belief upon. And so tell me a little bit about your pictures. How many pictures do you have that you would say illustrate your gift?
Oh goodness, I would say at least 30. And I find new ones constantly. They're in my yard quite a bit, and some days I just have to go out and find new ones. But yeah, I would say at least 30. I have more that I haven't even published that are fire pictures. A lot of spirits do come out of the fire for me as well. But with those, they tend to morph right in front of me, and occasionally they will take over my camera controls on my camera, and it will start doing things I've never seen my camera do before. So.
Oh my gosh. So then, I mean, the term that keeps coming to me is instrument, as though you are maybe an instrument to help expose this other world, or this dimension, or however you'd like to frame it in terms of our language. Do you ever feel like an instrument?
Yeah, I've never really thought about it that way, but I suppose I do. Especially when I get into that meditative state. Most of us, when we are in nature, we kind of let our problems go of the world, and so we're more open when we're in that kind of space. And I would say, it is more fifth dimension that I'm seeing. So, and I'm allowing more of that to come through. So yeah, I never thought about it more as a channel, but yeah, I suppose I am.
Okay. So let's say that, so my intention with this piece is basically to you and I'll finish it up in the next couple minutes, and then I'm going to put it up on YouTube with some keywords that are designed to, we'll say, attract other people with similar vision. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if I want to reach out to you and I want to talk to you about this, how do I reach you? How do I communicate with Heather Stoneburner?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I named my business Sacred Realms Photography, and okay. I definitely invite other artists to collaborate with things. I think that I'm not the only one that sees fairies or that has been touched by fairies or feels inspired by the fairies to make arts and crafts or any of these other wondrous things. So I do encourage people that maybe start questioning their own sanity of seeing these other dimensions that, that they're not alone. Sure, and I welcome them to my website to post videos or pictures of their own doing. I have had a fellow photographer recently that answered an ad of mine on Craigslist and mailed me a postcard of her fairies, and she had never, and it was very inspiring for her because she thought, oh, maybe I'm just the only one that's seeing this and maybe something's wrong with me. So it's great that other people are starting to wake up and starting to see that, oh, okay, this is normal. This is something new that we should all embrace.
Sure.
And I think the children of course believe because they're such young spirits and they can see those other dimensions quite clearly. It seems like after we get older, we become domesticated and have to be in the real world, so to speak.
Oh yeah, that whole thing where somebody will tell you, geez, you got 5, 6, 7 senses, and you're like, wait a minute, I think I might have 9, right? That whole thing. So
right.
So now we'll kind of wrap up on this. This is turning into what I'd call a perfect taste of your gift and your reality. So now, okay, how long, in subjective terms, an hour, a day, a month, a week, how long before you think you'll be in a place where it happens again? I mean, I know you can't predict it, but just in terms of frequency, I mean, will you see one in 20 minutes? Will you see one a month from now? Any ideas?
Typically, if I really pay attention and have myself open, usually it's daily, if not at least 3 to 4 times a week. And sometimes it's just for me to feel and to experience and to not necessarily capture the image. Sometimes it's just for my pleasure. And sometimes I get so excited that I want to capture everything instead of just being in the moment. So I've learned to just be in those moments and appreciate all of the gifts that they allow me to see.
So then this is almost, it's like a state you can trip into, but if you're not careful, you can trip right back out of, right? I mean, it's like if you started thinking about, geez, the tax man wants to talk to me, that could like bum you out enough where you're like, okay, I can't see the fairies right now, right?
Right, yeah. I think you definitely have to be in the right state of mind. Absolutely.
Wow. So then, a whole nother thing one of these days might be just to, maybe go out and practice getting in fairy vision, right? Just go out into the forest and just see what you can do about, like, if I get the right vibe, if I drink the right juice, if I stand and meditate just proper and let the sun hit, oh, look, I'm back in the fairy zone. Be kind of fun to play with that.
Absolutely. So, and I did have a plan with the fairies had given me an idea for this fall. I'm a big mushroom hunter as well. Okay. And so for the fall, they very much would like me to bring the children into the forest to hunt for mushrooms and also for them. So I think that will be a fun little thing to do this summer, or to do this fall, actually.
Wow. As a garden gnome and a creature of the forest, Gnome and the Getting To Know Me show, I have to say I have a fine affinity for that idea. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. I love me some mushrooms sometimes. So, okay, so now let's do this. We'll close out our little segment here. If you don't mind, I'd like you to say, how about this? Would you thank everybody for listening?
Absolutely. Thank you all for listening, and and for believing in the possibility that fairies do exist and that they want us to believe in them.
See, I like that. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to pander for a moment. You sound like a very nice person, and you sound normal except for your fairy vision. Are you a nice person, Heather?
I like to think so.
Good.
I'm pretty normal.
Good.
Pretty normal.
Yeah, and pretty normal, and let's say pretty in tune with your senses and with nature. I think that's pretty neat. So, okay, it is the Getting to Know Me show. I'm Dan Kemmis, the Seattle Garden Gnome, the Seattle Santa. I'm all kinds of things, but what I really am is I'm super lucky, and you can tell because I know nice people like Heather, and they're kind enough to share their thoughts with us and share their experiences with us for all of the Internet, and I think that makes Heather pretty darn neat, and it also makes you pretty darn neat for taking the time to listen. All right, Heather, let's do this. I'll go ahead and cut the call, and then I'm going to call you on the landline in just a minute. And thanks so much. We've been on the line about 17 minutes, and I really do appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Talk to you in a bit. Bye-bye.